Welcome back to Tales from the PowerAge. We've got the normal crew here again today. So, hi Gav, Gappy, Jammer.
Hey.
How you doing, guys?
Hiya.
All right, mate.
Yeah, all good. So, what we're talking about today, we are talking about AC/DC and AC/DC Fly on the Wall. So we're going to get into that in a few minutes. But before we do that, we're going to talk about what AC/DC means to the guys. So, Gappy, I'm going to come to you first. What do AC/DC mean to you, and what are your thoughts around the band just in general?
Well, the first time I ever heard them was on a compilation which came out, and I think it was 1980, called Axe Attack, which people of our age will probably remember quite fondly. It had Highway to Hell on it by AC/DC. That's the first time I ever heard them, and I just thought I fell in love with them straight away after that. I didn't buy an AC/DC album when it came out new, until Flick of the Switch, but I had everything else before that up to then, and they were one of my favourite bands as I was an early teenager, without a doubt.
And you learned a bit of guitar playing along to AC/DC.
Yeah, I played along to AC/DC. It was nice to play along to, apart from the fact that they always changed the tuning on the guitars halfway through the album, which was a bit of a nightmare when you got to retune your guitar to play along to the next track on the album. But never mind, it was all good fun.
Good that you have the guitar separation in each ear, though, isn't it, Malcolm?
Oh yeah, that was amazing. Yeah.
Whack it over to the left.
Still amazing to this day, and I wish other bands did it more often.
Yeah. Jammer, you saw the band in '84, so you were lucky enough to be the first of us to see AC/DC. So.
Yeah. I mean, in our house, AC/DC were massive. To me, they were the giants. They were the big boys of the metal world for me. My actual proactive memory of DC was in the summer of '81, and I had to look up. I know it was because between primary and secondary school, I remember going around to my mate's house and taking Back in Black because I was going to teach him how to dance like Angus Young. So we used to go up and down his lounge, doing the duck dance and just banging, and of course 2 strokes down and 2 strokes up. Literally, I couldn't play guitar, but I could play broom. I could play any form of air guitar. We had all the equipment you needed, as the boys used to say. So yeah, we used to play along to that. And so that was summer of '81, Back in Black record, because I remember that specifically because Shake a Leg was the perfect track. Do What You Like 20 of them, but Shake a Leg was the one to dance to. And then, as you say, Donington '84, got to go to that. And that was, as we were talking the other day, DC's only UK date for the Flick of the Switch record, which makes our conversation today even more apt that when Fly on the Wall came along. But for me, with everything that's going on with metal and rock and new wave and British heavy metal and all that, DC were the giants. They were the kings. So yeah, my earliest memories there.
And Gav?
Yeah, the same really. They were already completely respected, and everyone was in awe of them. And as a budding drummer, you had to, although they sounded simple to play to, they really aren't. Not to have that the groove and the metronomic playing style, and just to resist doing fills every 5 minutes. When you're playing, it's not in my vocabulary.
Especially for you, yeah. Especially for you.
So yeah, I mean, complete respect for Phil Rudd, and I've always loved his playing. But having said that, when he left, there was a BBC special, Late Night in Concert, that had it from the Flick of the Switch tour, I guess. But it had Simon Wright on drums, and it was live from Washington, 83, 84. And we just watched that until the videotape ran thin. It was our vocabulary for a summer, just knowing that inside out. And that kind of sealed the deal, really. So unlike Gappy, I was chomping at the bit to buy my first new AC/DC album, and which is why kind of this era resonates so much for me, because it was the first time I got a brand new AC/DC album. And probably to people watching now, it seems like such an old album, but it was fantastic to rush out and get the new album.
But in a time, Gav, in a time when video, you couldn't go to the shop to buy a video. I remember buying Saxon did a video in '83 live from Nottingham's City Hall or something, and it was 1999. And me and my 2 brothers, we went thirds on it I was bloody 13. I went like 3 weeks pocket money on this, and they're both working. Anyway, £7 each to play it to bits because you couldn't get your hands on.
I used to go around your house and watch it, the Power and the
Yes, you
Glory
did.
tour.
But
Yeah.
the fact that DC gifted us that on BBC, that they did a couple of late night concerts that we managed to get on video, and you'd get it from school, you'd put it on, you'd crank it up real loud because that was just immense, wasn't it?
Absolutely fabulous.
We
Yeah.
actually had access to live AC/DC.
Yeah.
Just to go back to Phil Rudd for a moment. Gav was teaching me a lot of drumming at the time, and I wanted to go, and we went into his bedroom and played along to Highway to Hell. I got a Highway to Hell. He got Touch Too Much, and then I thought I could do Walk All Over You, and failed absolutely miserably because the drumming on that is really rather difficult.
Yeah, brilliant.
And then
It doesn't sound difficult. None of
No,
DC
it doesn't,
sounds
but it was really tough, and I don't think I could do it today either, to be honest.
Okay, all right, guys. Well, yeah, I don't mind AC/DC. I think they're quite good. Not obsessed with them at all. I think the first my introduction to AC/DC would have been about 1980. There was a guy that lived just a couple of doors down from us, actually, and he was a massive AC/DC fan, and he'd shown me a 70s program with Bon Scott, and he'd done a tape for me, which was primarily Let There Be Rock. And some other stuff as well. There was Stacks and Wheels of Steel. There was Iron Maiden Running Free. There was Steam Rock Fever, Scorpions. I can still remember all the songs on there now. But the AC/DC, I just couldn't believe. I'd never heard anything like it. And in particular, I was obsessed with Dog Eat Dog at the time. I thought it was the best song ever. Anyway, played it at home. My dad was saying, "Who's this? These are brilliant. I've never heard these before." And lo and behold, quite a good few years later,
my dad had the exact opposite reaction.
Oh, my dad loved it.
Absolutely detested AC/DC.
So I've seen AC/DC 19 times, I think, over the years, and many tours. But the first tour was, of course, Fly on the Wall, which we're covering today. So, Gab, shall we go on to the album that preceded Fly on the Wall, which was a bit of a random release year before. So do you maybe just want to touch on that?
Yeah, this kind of came out of the blue to my memory, especially the mismatch of it being kind of a retrospective, but looking like a new, or certainly the Angus of the era, nervous shakedown imagery. But the Jailbreak is just such a classic song. It would have been criminal not to release it at some point. But yeah, so that was the year before. So apropos to nothing. Yeah. Oh, and you've got a foreign one there.
Yeah, that's an Argentinian copy. I thought I'd just.
Yeah. So that we came into that not knowing what was going on really, and then into 85.
85. So before the album was released, I think this was a week or 2 weeks before release, they released the single Danger, which if you think about the stomping riffs that AC/DC are famous for, this was probably completely opposite. So, Jan, what were your thoughts when it came out?
Well, I don't recall the single. I'm not gonna lie to you, but that track of the actual record, when we come onto the record, yeah, it didn't really do it for me. There's some decent tracks on the album, and for me, that wasn't one of them. So to lead with that's amazing. And
It's such a curious choice. It doesn't start well, and it doesn't have a single stamped all over it. I don't know what led the record company or the band to think that this was the winner that was going to make everybody rush out and buy the album.
Especially when there are tracks on the record that would have made complete sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the later single was much more on the button.
Yeah.
Ironically, though, my dad loved it. He thought that the single was absolutely amazing. So, of course, I bought it when it came out. I've got a couple of copies. I got the poster copy that you can see there, the picture disc, which is pretty rare now. It's quite difficult to get hold of. But for all of those picture discs, for anyone that owns one or got it back in the day, you'll be very lucky if it's not really browned out now. They faded really badly over the years. Whether that's just the quality of the production or not, I don't know. But yeah, I wasn't overly enamored with the single, given that the stuff that they produced, and actually on Flick of the Switch, that was a great album actually too. So I guess moving on to the album. Gappy, what were your thoughts when the album came out?
I was really looking forward to the album coming out, and it's a good album. It really is a good album. The unfortunate thing for me about it is the production is pretty ropey, to say the least. The vocals too quiet. The guitars sound a lot better than they had done for a little while. But just the fact that Brian's voice was sort of in the background, I think it was a bit strange. But going back to Danger's not a bad song at all. On the album, when you're listening to the album and you go into Danger after, what's it after?
First Blood.
First Blood. It actually works really well on the album. But yeah, as a single, it wasn't a very good choice. They could have led with Shake Your Foundations, or even put Sink the Pink as the first single. I think would have worked a lot better. But I really like the album, or Fly on the Wall, yeah. I've listened to it a couple of times just recently, and I know I listened to it loads back in the day. And I remember why, because there's not really a bad song on it for me. I think Stand Up maybe is the weakest song on there.
So this is, production-wise, this is the Young Brothers still rebelling from the Mutt Lange years, being told what to do too much, and going it alone, thinking they can produce it themselves. And you know, and to your point, Gaps, I reckon that's why the guitars sound so good, because that's what they were focusing on.
The drum really heavy guitar. That's the heaviest guitar sound I think they've ever had.
And the drums sound okay. You know, it's a big room sound, but it sounds like Brian's mic hasn't been turned up. Sounds like he's in Studio 2.
He sounds like he's in one of those.
Way too much reverb on it.
I was about to say
it's curious.
To echo Gappy, ironically, the echo, the reverb, and the tinny, reedy vocals is such a shame. But as you say, they've clearly concentrated on the guitars, which I think sound really good. So,
but it's odd. He sounds like he's in a portable toilet outside the studio.
Yeah,
it's really, really odd compared to. And you're right, Gav. This was the second album that Angus and Malcolm produced, which again is fallout from Mutt Lange and the 3 albums that he produced with them, and the meticulous detail they needed to go through. Yeah. I think this album was actually recorded in Switzerland as well by the band, and I don't know if they were looking to retreat. But there were well documented alcohol problems for Malcolm on the Blow Up Your Video tour. He had to take a break for a while and was replaced for a few shows. So yeah, you just wonder what was going on potentially in the band at the time, and were they really thinking straight? I mean, they were such a powerful, massive band. And by the way, Back in Black, I'm sure many of you know, second biggest selling album of all time, which is just insane when you think of all those massive artists. Only second behind Thriller, Michael Jackson. So incredible, really.
Yeah. And the other big change, as we all know, is the drummer. So I'll just talk a little bit about young Simon Wright. So the most remarkable thing about this that people don't necessarily think of, because everyone considers AC/DC to be an Australian band, this was the last, him joining and Phil Rudd leaving made them all British born. Phil Rudd was the last remaining character that had been born in Oz. So obviously the Young Brothers born in Scotland, and Simon Wright, Manchester area, Oldham, I think, replacing Ruddy, made them effectively Brits, which was great. I didn't know fully why Phil Rudd left, but I think there was some kind of fisticuffs between him and the Young Brothers. So yeah,
I think there were a number of things that had led up to it, right. Gav. There were issues around his alcoholism, allegedly. I need to be careful what I say on here. And also drug taking, allegedly. And he was a little bit out of control. I think there'd been an incident with a tiger moth as well. There were lots of different things. I mean, it's well documented. He loves fast cars, and I'm sure he loves fast women and everything else that goes with that as well. But it's that classic scenario, isn't it, where you're trying to manage the success, and of course they were still probably trying to get over the death of Bon, who had been very close to them over those years, and it was the father figure of the band in many respects. So yeah, quite interesting.
The oldest, wasn't he?
The one thing that just worthy of note on the artwork, this was probably a bit of a throwback to those original Aussie albums. So for those of you that are aware, in Australia they released a couple of albums that are very different, and the covers are very different in Australia. So as an example, the first album they released is High Voltage, and it bears no relation to the High Voltage that you get in the UK or in the States. But if you look at the artwork, there's a dog peeing on the High Voltage cabinet, and so yeah, it's a bit of humour there. And they followed that with TNT and Dirty Deeds, the Australian Dirty Deeds, which again is another one which is a sort of cartoon theme. So in many respects, they're trying to maybe go back to what they've done in the past. I don't know if that was their thought process.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I know for me personally that I just used to do my nutting because I want a Y to be there so badly. But there you go. That's just my brain trying to work stuff out. Even when I look at it, look away. No, that makes total sense. Never thought about it before, Dill.
And Simon Wright photo is in the studio rather than live, just the same as on Back in Black. Brian Johnson was in the studio rather than live because they didn't have any live shots, I guess.
Yeah. And thoughts on the album? I mean, I like it, and I think you listen to it again, you think, God, that's much better than I remember it. But
that's exactly right. Yeah, I like it now more than I did then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, for me, if you can get away, if you can get off, I mean, it start with the album. It starts sort of Fly on the Wall. The start, Fly on the Wall, We Need to Shake Your Foundations is a really decent start. When you listen to it as a record, and as Gappy said, it actually fits. It flows quite well. Sink the Pink's a really good track. I loved it then. I love it still now. So really, I know it's innuendo rhythm, but it's a cracking track. Yeah, they really drove it. And if perhaps that had been a single, it might have made a bit of a difference. But yeah, it's not a bad record, but it's just getting past that sound for me. Just past the sound of the vocal.
Yeah.
First Blood's a brilliant track. Hell or High Water's a brilliant track. Back in Business, which was the B-side to Danger, was probably a better song, and they maybe should have released that on the A-side rather than the B-side.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Well, look, I like it, and I was excited that we might get a tour at some stage, having not seen them. That's is that the CD, Gav? That one?
Yeah, that's the re-release with. I was just saying earlier the booklet has got tons of good stuff in it actually that we could have nicked, but it's really nice packaging, this re-release stuff. They all the digipacks.
Yeah, and we didn't reproduce it though.
No, they didn't. They just remastered it.
Yeah. Could have taken Brian out of the Portaloo and put him into the studio.
Is it more one of those remasters that you really have to listen hard to hear the remaster, or is it?
No, I think it's just cleaned up. You know, it's louder.
Cut. Yeah. So rather than not remixed or anything, literally just
not to my knowledge.
Okay. So we all like the album, but had reservations with production. They also released this video, which but that is my copy. I said I got a copy. That's a picture of my copy, which I absolutely played to death. It was a bit of an odd video, really, but I loved it. And I think the bit that really stood out for me is that Angus looked amazing in those videos. Looked absolutely brilliant. And we were at the stage where we were all trying to grow our hair long, and his
hair was as long as mine is now on that video, wasn't it?
Yeah, or maybe longer actually. It's amazing. So
he was as metal as he did.
You've seen the video, Jam, and what?
Yeah, I had it back in the day. Yeah, get your hands on these things. It's just it just felt so. It felt so. If you were to look back, it just feels so 80s. It was of the time. Do you know what I mean? It reminds me, you think back to movies like Mannequin and some of those sorts of things, and like the recording, and you're thinking, okay. I mean, the character with the fly and everything, it makes total sense. But again, the production quality on the sound wasn't tip-top-tastic, I would question.
Yeah, that's what winds me up about it, is all the kind of Foley noises getting in the way of the band. All you want to hear is the band, and you want them to be louder than everything else, louder than the people talking in the bar and all the tables falling over and all that crap. So, yeah, it could have really benefited from that. But this is in the era of MTV starting to flex its muscles, and the fact that they've set up the scenario where they can do 5 promotional videos in one environment was probably very economical, and quite a good idea, because then they could package it and sell it as well. So,
pretty unique as well, wasn't it?
Smart management
out there like that.
Of the time, you're thinking that makes complete sense. I mean, whoever whoever ran that up the flagpole and went, let's do it, that would have ended up with some plenty of ka-ching, I'm sure, in everyone's pocket. It's just a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, very much aimed at the American market and the MTV market, but fair enough.
And then not long before that, they'd released "Let There Be Rock" on video with Bon.
Yeah,
live in Paris.
I mean, you could not have two.
They're chalk and cheese, aren't they?
You couldn't have two different videos, could you? Seriously, honestly, wow.
And what a video "Let There Be Rock" is. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, watching Angus break his string on the oxygen in between songs. I mean, it's just insane. The guy was just incredible.
The quirky interviews with them in between songs.
Yeah.
And the fact that took so long to release as well, I think all of us, everyone knew about it, and everyone was saying, when's that going to happen? And then when it came out, it was just like, wow, okay, it's here. Wow.
Yeah. That's the best live event you'd ever seen. And I think the only other live video I'd seen prior to that, and I think it was the song "Remains the Same," Led Zepp. And look, it just doesn't come close to "Let There Be Rock." That is an absolute first class 10 out of 10 video. So
everything about that video, I know we're not, but everything about that video, the interviews with it's just brilliant. The driving around on the bit, it's just, sorry, if anyone's watched it, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. You're thinking, how can I need to watch that again now, sort of thing. It was immense.
It's classic. Well, I'm sure we'll do more DC programs.
Yeah.
Good. So that's the video, Gav. This was the single that came out, I think, just not a couple of weeks before the tour, or even a month or so before the tour. So there'd been an announcement that they were coming back to the UK. And again, to put that in context, that was the last time the band had hit the UK on a tour was 1982. So this was massive that they were coming back. So it's mad now thinking about it, but in those days, 4 years, 3 years, it was a lifetime. And AC/DC toured the UK every single year relentlessly.
Yeah, this was a long gap for albums as well as tours for them at the time.
Again, the picture disc and some nice packaging with the calendar, which was exciting knowing that they were playing Wembley Arena.
Yeah, I haven't got that.
Was that a poster with it behind, or was that the inlay card?
No, that's the back of the that's right. You've got the 12-inch as well. Advertising the video.
But again, the long version of Jailbreak on the B-side.
Yeah, that's right.
13 minutes of dun, dun, where Angus does very interesting stuff visually.
Yeah, very odd though. But
they could have just edited that out. But whatever.
Yeah, you just sit there imagining what was going on with your eyes closed. But anyway, hey ho, it's getting us excited, I think, for the tour.
Definitely.
So, Gav, what's going on here? I mean, this is from Kerrang. I believe
this is how you got your information back in the day, kids. You get a page in Kerrang with phone numbers and addresses to send your stamped addressed envelope and you check to get your tickets. Unless you were lucky enough to be in London where you could use your credit card, or in our case, our mum's credit card.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Tickets through the post. But
But again, when you look at that, doesn't that remind you, of course, you've got to remember what arenas were there, because Whitley Bay Ice Rink always cropped up, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was Whitley Bay Ice Rink, London Wembley Arena. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously you had the Birmingham NEC and Edinburgh. I don't know what the situation was with the Manchester. You know, there's got a big one there now. And then Nottingham, this is, I think, maybe just before massive arenas everywhere. I don't know.
I love that. The Whitley Bay one, though, you could obviously go to the ice rink to buy them. Newcastle City Hall, Carlisle Pink Panther Records, Sunderland Spinning Disc, Middlesbrough New House Music, Hartlepool Weather Record Shop, Sunderland Virgin Records, and Durham Virgin Records. So, look, record shops are coming back right at the moment, and vinyl's coming back strong. But just to think, that's where you go and buy your concert tickets. It's insane, isn't it, really?
I don't think I ever did from a record shop.
It was Scorpion Records. We went to Donington from there, didn't we?
I think,
Scorpions in High Wycombe, bless them.
Yeah.
Miss them. And then to the tour.
Yeah. So, oh my God. What you went jammed that night, didn't you? What can you remember?
I just remember we've just looked at this. I just remember the set list. I just remember it being immense. Again with the tour program, the fact because I've got one, you can see one behind me there, just there. I got a tour program. It was bright blue. It was almost again like yeah, there it is, just behind me. It was bright blue, which often everything was black and metal. It was very different. But the actual tour, I just remember that it was an arena show, and of course we know for those of us that are maybe a bit older than us, the tours before that, the previous visit, they'd done Hammersmith Odeon as they usually would, and they did three Hammersmith Odeons, I think, and 2 Wembley Arenas at the end of '82.
Do you know they sold it out, Jan? They sold out the Wembley Arenas, and which was the first time I think they'd done Wembley. And once that had all sold out, they came back and did something like 5 nights at Hammersmith Odeon. So they announced another bunch of nights after the tour had sold out. Okay,
that makes sense. But they did Hammersmith Odeon and Wembley Arena the previous tour. This is the first tour that they just did the arena.
It is metal.
So we didn't know any different. But yeah, I was going to say, I just remember I'd seen them a couple of years before at Donington. But of course,
that's a brilliant picture, that.
Headlining at Donington's a bit different to seeing them actually like up close-ish in an arena. So, but for me, I remember they had the bell, Hell's Bells, they had the cannons to close the show out, and they played all the songs.
Yeah, they had the old cannons as well, didn't they? Those old, well, for those about to rock cannons, as you'd say, because they've changed them over the years now. There is a proper 21 gun salute for the last few tours. Well, the last quite a few tours actually, to be fair.
Yeah, it looks like I paid £1 more than you.
Yeah,
that's my ticket at the top, and that's Dill's ticket at the bottom there.
You can see I was obviously in the mosh pit, given the state of the ticket. Not true. So. Not true. Any memories, Gav, from the gig?
On the right-hand side, that's a patch that I bought at the gig. Still got it on the old battle jacket.
Oh, that's a patch, is it? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's an authentic tour patch. I definitely bought a T-shirt, but I can't remember. I think it had the fly on the front. I can't remember.
It did. It had the fly on the front and then AC/DC on the back with the tour dates.
Right.
But yeah, I remember getting a T-shirt. It was really long.
Was it black or was it what? Was it black or white?
It was black.
Black, yeah.
I also got a headband as well.
Of course you did.
I remember that.
Not a John McEnroe headband. It was more like Karate Kid headband.
Oh yeah, you'd have looked well cool with that.
I did, yeah.
Of course you did.
Got it. I did. It looked immense. And the program and the T-shirt, which was great. But I actually went with my dad that night, and he loved it so much. He thought it was brilliant. He was trying to get a sticker the following night. That's a really nice memory. Going to that.
And of course, they were supported by Fastway, who we can't remember the show particularly, but if anyone's interested, they're the songs they played, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to Jam about this earlier, but certainly in AC/DC shows, more than any other, it was an AC/DC crowd and nobody was interested in the support bands. And the one thing, I do remember seeing them on stage. I don't remember anything of it, but what I do remember is the arena was empty.
But that wasn't very much the case back then, because the first few early gigs that I went with my brother, so I was going on about this. But MSG in '83, Wildlife supported, that went on to become FM, and I wanted to get up and see the metal, and they're saying, "Hold on, wait, we can get in the bar. We'll get a beer. I'm busting for a beer." So you'd go, "Oh, okay, I got a half a beer, so I was fine." But they wouldn't rush in to get to see the band. It's like they'd just be getting the beers in, and that I think was how it was. I just think that's how it was, because the Kiss, I saw Kiss and my brother, and different bands I saw I'd be like, "Oh yeah, it's in the bar." I'm like, "Okay, I want to get in and see the band." But I think that was just that's the way it was then. I think very different now. I'll be honest. We tend to, you want to get your money's worth, want to check out the band.
We try and see the support bands, don't we?
I just picked up some of my favourite bands from catching them as support. Give them at least 3 songs and see what they got. But yeah, strange. There we go.
Yeah, you can see the deliberate mistake on there, because they did play "Think the Pink" as well.
Yeah, that's right.
But maybe
few songs from the new album, really, considering. But when you're AC/DC, you've got a lot of good ones to fit in, I suppose. But
there's
Think the Pink. That's three off the new album.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, they picked the best 3, so you can't say fair in that. Fly on the Wall, Shake Your Foundations, and Sink the Pink. They don't look out.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But interesting that none of them had the longevity to feature ever again. I don't recall them being on any of them on the next tour.
That's a blooming good point.
I don't think
they've never
literally not
been.
even.
No, never been.
I don't think so. Not even Shake Your Foundations, which could have, in my opinion, could have carried on. But yeah.
Yeah, because it did quite well as a single, didn't it? Shake Your Foundations.
Yeah, well, better than Danger, I imagine.
Yeah. So now interesting that. Yeah.
But look at the picture; looks fantastic. They look brilliant, don't they? In those days,
especially with his tab in his mouth.
Look at Brian with his tab hanging out of his mouth.
Multi-millionaires.
I mean, it's not. It was never cool to smoke, but that looks cool.
He's just come off the building site.
It was cool back then, mate. It was cool back then.
Look at him. That's his patch on his jeans under his nuts. That's it. Or is that sweat?
Looks like he's wet himself.
That's a patch. We'll give him the benefit. Yeah. We're giving the benefit.
We'll give him the benefit, yeah.
Couple of patches. He couldn't afford any more jeans. More jeans. Get some next year. That's just brilliant. Love that.
Got patches on his old blue jeans.
There you go.
When they used to be blue, when they used to be new.
Yeah.
When they used to be clean.
But again, when you're looking at that set list says it all, really, though, doesn't it? I mean, they're all in there. It's a cracking set. We were commenting, Jailbreak and the Jack. Jailbreak and the Jack would have taken up a bit of time.
Yeah, that'd have been a half an hour, wouldn't it? Those two.
Yeah. Amazing. And if you look at the running, those last few songs, Whole Lot of Rosie, Let There Be Rock, Hell's Bells, TNT, For Those About to Rock. I mean, this is not a bad song. It's like one after another. Most people would kill for a third of that catalogue in a live set. It's just amazing. And what's really interesting, every band you go and see now, every band, it seems, if you're trying to get the crowd up for it, they're playing AC/DC before they come on.
I was going to comment. I was going to comment on that.
Chris Barris did a few nights ago.
Yeah, before and after.
Everybody knows it as well, don't they? It gets you going, and almost everyone in the crowd is going to know the song, if not all the members of the crowd. So. But
we used to say this back in the day, Gav. I'm sure as you and I would have said, but back in the day when you went to a gig, they'd play music beforehand, always, especially Hammersmith. And if you put a bit of DC on, you could feel the place lift, and there would be a vibe going through the place. And the amount of bands that did do it, or sometimes they put the whole of Highway to Hell or something on, that'd be the one. Just stick that record on, and everyone would just be ready and up for the show.
Even Slipknot play AC/DC before those about to rock. It's brilliant.
I was about to say, when I used to go to gigs with the daughter, she's when I used to go to see Yumi at Sixes and Bring Me the Horizons, their version for the kids of today, their version of DC was Slipknot, because you'd be in the crowd and suddenly the crowd would lift and there'd be this metal playing. You think, what the hell? And that's how I first got to listen to Slipknot. So I thought, who are they? Because everyone loved them. And then you listen to them, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because that was the youngsters that was their DC. So fair play to them.
And of course, the only problem is when you play DC before you come on, everyone's sitting there going, God, I wish it was AC/DC coming on.
It's ballsy as well. You're not going to sound as good and you're not going to be as good.
Just means the band need to kick some ass, doesn't it? So that's fine.
Yeah.
So that was the tour, Gav. What happened after that? What was the spin-off?
Yeah, we were basically saying that, as long as it had a high point certainly in my mind, because it was the first album I bought that was new, but commercially it was a low point for DC, because obviously they come off the back of Back in Black at we're talking about UK here, it was number 1 in the UK. For Those About to Rock, number 3. And then a couple of years later, Fly on the Wall, number 7. So it was the worst performing UK chart position for 2 or 3 albums. Then followed by Who Made Who, which I remember the single doing really well. But because I guess it was a compilation album, the album only went to 11. And then Blow Up Your Video was a number 2. So in that run of 5 albums, apart from the compilation, Fly on the Wall was by far the worst performing.
Yeah. But they sorted their videos out by the time they got to Who Made Who. So that video filmed at Brixton Academy is
that's great.
It's brilliant, isn't it? So you've got all the fans there, you get that proper organic feel. Sorry, Gappy, what Do you remember that video?
No, yeah, I was really looking forward to Who Made Who coming out, and the singer was absolutely brilliant. I knew there was only going to be a couple of other songs on there, and I think, aren't they just both instrumentals, the two other
Yeah.
new tracks on there?
Chase the Ace. Yeah.
DC,
Yeah.
I think the other one,
Because
yeah.
it was for the Stephen King film, wasn't it? Which was, I can't remember
Maximum
the name of it.
Maximum Overdrive.
That's it, yeah.
Max.
Yeah, which he gave him a lot of credibility. To be fair to Stephen King, that was
Yeah,
quite
absolutely, yeah.
unusual for someone as high profile as him to be coming out and saying AC/DC is my favourite band. Now it's like everybody does it, don't they?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, they're way more.
Yeah, nobody would have thought that a massive producer or a writer like him would have had AC/DC as their favourite band. That's just unbelievable.
And they still haven't done a best of, have they? They just do movie soundtracks as best ofs.
Yeah, that's a good point actually, because you've got the Iron Man movie soundtrack best of, which ironically is only one AC/DC song in the movie, and then they release a best of alongside it just to.
Is there only one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's right at the end.
Is that Shoot to Thrill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the video for that's amazing as well. So again, if you're not seen that, it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, that's
so,
interesting.
Yeah, so it was a low point, Fly on the Wall for sure. Jam, go on.
I was gonna say, but they made up for it with live albums. So instead of the so rather compilations, they went on the live album, didn't they? Donington 91, AC/DC Live, and then the Bull Ring one and the live from South America somewhere.
Live DVDs as well.
Yeah.
Videos
Like
and
River
DVDs.
Plate.
River
Yes,
Plate,
that's-
wasn't it? Yeah.
That's the one I'm trying to say. Yeah, River Plate.
Actually, talking about videos, as they resurrected Shook Me All Night Long, didn't they?
Yes.
Around this time,
They did.
randomly.
That was Who Made Who. And again, the video
Yeah.
that's hilarious, isn't it? Because
Yeah, the video's great. Yeah,
in Newcastle, it's all based around him, isn't it? Essentially.
yeah, it's funny. But that was for MTV as well, wasn't it? I guess.
Just one other thing to note as well. Obviously, Who Made Who was essentially a compilation, but they went back to the tried and tested Vander and Young partnership for Blow Up Your Video.
Yes.
Interestingly, so they ditched doing it on their own. So whether they taken advice or whether they felt it was time to maybe go back to the older brother
And the right call.
Yeah.
Yeah, sonically it sounds better, doesn't it? It's not
Yeah.
it's not as metal, but
No.
it sounds
But
good. Yeah.
Yeah, good sound.
Okay, excellent. So thumbs up then for Fly on the Wall. We've got plenty more podcasts coming, so please listen out. Hope you enjoyed that. See you soon, guys. Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
See you later.
Cheers.